I'm smarter than y'all. Y'all here because y'all stupid. I beat my case. When them things come out, that's how we hold court. You're going to need backup, so call the whole force. Man, you already know what it is. Jay Williams, let's live life, and we're back. I love when I hear somebody say, we ran the prison. I ran the prison. We was running the prison. No, you weren't. At no given time have we ran the prison. Maybe if there was a riot for a small moment, however long that lasted, we might have felt like we ran the prison. But we've never really ran the prison. When it comes down to who runs the prison, who them real gangsters are, it's them COs. Truth be told. And you can't argue the fact. You can't. There's thousands of inmates. You got to think, Greensville Correctional Center holds over 3,000 inmates. And at any given moment, say at the most, there's 100 guards. At the most. That's being generous. It might be more like 60. 60 versus 3,000. 60 men are keeping 3,000 men in prison. Don't even make sense. Do the math. Every man walks up, puts one finger through the chain link fence, and just walks backwards. And we could pull the fence down and just walk off. But there's no unity amongst us. Them guards, them turnkeys, them correction officers, even though they might not like each other at times, and we see that as well, there's unity. They're structured. They all run on the same program, so they get the job done. That's how they're able to keep us in line. You know, I've seen guys fight over the pettiest stuff. I've seen men attack other men over the pettiest stuff. But then I've seen a guard do something 10 times worse to that same inmate, and he not saying nothing. Seen somebody else getting that guard in that inmate's face, he'll fire off on him, but had that guard right here in his face spitting and breathing, and he ain't gonna do nothing. Because with hitting him comes another 5 years, automatic 5 years here in the state of Virginia for assaulting a correctional officer. Now I've seen that 5 years be added on for slaps. I've seen it added on for punches. I've seen it added on when weapons came into play. I've seen it added on for a simple spit. Did you know spitting in someone's face is simple assault? So the act of spitting in a guard's face can get you 5 years. But you know what you don't really hear about? You don't really hear about them guards catching any time. Barely ever. I've been in places where after the internal affairs comes in and they do the investigation, they rule the death of the inmate accidental. When we all watched what happened and it wasn't accidental. We've all heard and we know it wasn't accidental. But the guards barely ever have to answer for what they do. How many people watching that's been locked up have been assaulted by a guard? Probably a whole lot. I have on more than one occasion. First of all, as an inmate, a convict, a man, someone that's locked up, telling's telling. So if you're pursuing charges on a CO, a correctional officer, no matter what you want to call it, telling is telling. Dudes might act like, yeah, that's what you need to do. Yeah, he beat you up like that, man. You need to press charges. But behind your back, they're going to be like, you can't trust dude. He's a snitch. Told on the guard, he'll tell on me. Guards get away with murder. Literally. Today, I'm going to get into some of the more savage guards. The street suave. The ones that will dig all up in your mouth. Not all of them are Deputy Doofy.
Special Officer Dude, you know, I'm 25 and a half years old.
Willie Lump Lump, Sammy Sausage Head. They're not. Some of these dudes you're dealing with are straight street dudes. I've met a guy who used to brag on how he done plenty of time. He said, man, I spent over a year locked up fighting a case one time, but I beat it. Smarter than y'all. Used to throw that in our face. I'm smarter than y'all. Y'all here because y'all stupid. I beat my case, then went on to become a correctional officer. Crazy. But that same correctional officer will give you the business. I know a bunch of different correctional officers that will give you the business. And pretty much all of them had the same motto. If you whoop me, I'll shake your hand. But if I whoop you, you go in the hole. You catching a charge, and I'm going to put 3 charges on you. What? So you better make sure that you can beat that man. Because if you can't, he's going to tell administration you attacked him. So then you're going to get the extra 5 years in prison. Bye. Tell your kids and your mom, bye. I'll be gone till November, Wyclef status. Because if he whoops you, you're going to the hole. You're going to sit in 23 and 1 probably for the next 3 to 5 years. And you're going to do additional 5. So you're 6 months from the gate. And you decide you want to run head up with that man. And he's agreed to it. If you lose, that 6 months just turned into 5.5 years. Most gangster guards I've seen and dealt with along the way, those that'll leave you lumped up. Not afraid to fade, not afraid of the one-on-one. Let's run it. Let's talk about them. With all that being said, you know how to seen it. You know how to lived it. So, let's relive. Now, I would like to say with these guards, it's more of an isolated incident, but it's not. Any state that I've done time in, which is several, I've ran across these type of guards. Now, I'll give credit where credit's due. They're not all bad guys. I've met some correction officers that treated me like a human. Some of these dudes were cool. Some of them I could see myself actually talking to in the real world. And there's some that if I had the chance, I would Homer Simpson and just choke the life out of. But the common thing in every state that I've been in is that I always come across a guard, one place or another, that's got a chip on his shoulders. Now, you got to remember, these are men. They're just hired. The women are just hired. I don't know if they do a psychological evaluation. A lot of them, I know this, they should. They bring their personal problems to work. You can tell with some of them when they've had a bad day or bad weekend or things ain't going right at home by the way they treat us. That same guard that was cool yesterday, today you asked for something, he'll tell you, hey, don't even ask me for nothing. You ask for anything, I'm going to lock you up. Damn, bro, I need some toilet paper. Wipe your hand. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe it with a sock, then I'm going to flush it, and I'm going to flood the hotel with a sock. Been there, done it, true story. But you run into these guards that have these chips on their shoulders. Philly was infamous for it. And if you go Google Philly correction officer assaults inmate, there's actually video footage out there of CFCF, another place I did a bunch of time at. One of the guards attacking a dude that was locked up. Those guards up there were infamous. My first encounter, my first fight ever with the correctional officer would be in CFCF. And I told that story before, so if you haven't seen it, go back and look for it. Dude walked by me. I was coming from the front, headed towards my cell. He walked by me and just straight stopped in his tracks. Looking at white boy. What? Like, caught me completely off guard. Like, no pun intended. Like, I had to do a double take to make sure that I was seeing that he had a uniform on. And this dude commenced to run in his mouth and told me in front of everybody, you can't whoop me. If I drag you in here, take it to the cell then. Like, called me to the cell and was unbuckling his utility belt as we went towards the cell and said, you better not lose. I better not whoop you. Let me whoop you. I promise you I'll put charges on you. Another situation where one got beat up and they used to wear these little black beanies. He just put his beanie on to cover the knots up, situated his shirt, put his utility belt back on, and just went on about his business. Time and time again, there's been a pattern of guards that are with the business, that are with the function, that'll get funky with you, that'll put hands on you. I've seen it more times than I can count. I've heard it more times than I can count. And the hole was the worst. They'd have you back up to the door and you back up and they cuff you. Now you're defenseless. And then the door opens and all you can really do is try to just tuck your face down and hope that they don't break your jaw. A lot of times they'll beat you in your body so there's not bruises all over your face. But some of these guards were really, really nasty, really violent, and super, super aggressive. I think every state has a legend when it comes to certain guards. They make their names. I've heard of guards in Florida that were infamous. We had a guard named Sako. Sako was 100% African, had an African accent, was huge. The man he was taller than he was wide, but to be as tall as he was, you would expect him either to be like super bulky, but he was like LeBron James shaped. I've watched Sako mush people's face, poke people in their foreheads, spit at people, talk about people's mothers. The man was ginormous, just a huge, tall tree of a man. And he would use his size to his advantage. When he first came in, he would brag about things he did in the streets. Certain dudes he would try to be cool with. We'd always hear him talk about his time in New York, and he got locked up, and he had some serious charges, but he beat his charges, and that when he was in jail, he was running things, he was knocking dudes out. This is a correctional officer. So if he beat his charges, he doesn't have any felony convictions. He doesn't have any misdemeanor convictions. They can't hold that against you. You didn't get convicted. So then they hire this man on to DOC. The arrest is there. The man had a super violent case, but he was proven not guilty. So gave him a job. I'm not going to call him racist. Yes, I am. And I can say he was racist because I dealt with him. I watched others deal with him. And I watched the fights he picked. It was always with white guys. And it's not like he's picking fights with like Terry or Ox or other dudes that I knew that would wreck this dude. No, they used to play Dungeons and Dragons. Can you believe this? We're in prison and you got some of these weird white guys that would play Dungeons and Dragons. He called lockdown and these dudes are out there with the 8-sided dice and doing all this weird stuff, Magic the Gathering. It's a bunch of these just weird dudes that probably had weird charges, facts, sitting around his table, and Sako comes in, hey, lockdown, everyone, lockdown now. You're not in your cell, you go to the hole. Like he was just super aggressive with it. You gotta do all that, lockdown. We heard you. Now guys are gonna scraggle. You got guys that the last moment we try to run to the microwave real quick or run and try to get some water. You're going in that cell for the night. You're going to try to do what you got to do. If you're going to eat, run to your homeboy cell quick. Hey, yo, let me get a bag of chips real quick. Come on, hurry, we'll lock it down. These dudes are out there and they're finishing up their game, but they're more or less talking to each other and taking their time and gathering their stuff. I watched Sako walk over, get the trash cans on wheels, wheel it up to the table, and take his arm and scoop all their stuff. They order these books. Everything that's on the table, they paid for with their personal money. They filled out a slip and they ordered it. He takes his arm and clears all their stuff off into the trash can. And then goes to push the trash can and the one dude says something. Sako turns around. Now you have a woman in the control booth, which I thought for the longest time was racist, but she wasn't. But she was in the control booth and on her shift, she didn't care. Anything goes. He clears his arm and the dude, hey man, what are you doing, man? I paid for that. Sako's pushing the trash can and the dude is coming behind him, questioning him. He's following behind Sako. Hey, give me my books, man. That's not cool. Hey, come here, man. Stop playing. The dude is pushing the trash can. He turns and he shoves this dude. And this dude flies backwards and slides across the floor. Gets up and Sako throws his fist up, ready to fight with him. That was one of the first situations I seen with Sako when it came to what he would do. Now, when I talked to somebody else about it, I said, yo, what's up with the new CO we got in here, the tall African dude? Don't get caught slipping. He does not like white dudes, Jay. So it's best you just stay out of his way. Don't try him. Like, dude is infamous. He was on the other side of the yard, and he was lumping dudes up. Yeah, they don't do nothing to him. They just, once he gets a report put on him or somebody calls home and there becomes an investigation, they don't fire him. They just move him to another building. He's a good guard to have. You can send him through the door first if you got to do a cell extraction, and he's going to smash you when he comes to that cell. So he shoves this dude. Boom. And I stood in my doorway watching as this little dude slid across the floor. And Sako not only pushed the trash can, but he pushed it outside of the pod, took the bag out of it, and then took the bag and took it to the trash. If he'd have left the trash can, dude could have went and got his stuff. But he couldn't get it because he took the bag and threw it away. These dudes pushed paperwork on it. And you know what the sergeants and them said? You're supposed to have been locked in your cell. You're lucky we don't hit you with an interfering with count time, refusal to lock down, disobeying a direct order. They would make it seem like what dude was doing was okay and counteract whatever you said with threats of charges. I wrecked y'all one day. Another summer, a whole bunch of dudes balling. This is one of the dudes at 1 second, he's a nut, and the next second, he's cool. He's in his full CO uniform with his military combat boots, with his pants pressed with the crease in the side, the DOC logo on his shoulder, and he's walking by the basketball court. Dude's like, hey, Sako, throws him the ball. Corny ass, leave that guard alone. throws him the ball. Sako dribbles the ball, walks right up underneath the rim and just jumps up, boom, dunks it. Everybody, oh. I didn't like stuff like that. Why are you frolicking, playing, entertaining that man? He's not one of us. He will lock you up, beat you up, and y'all out here playing. But, like I said, a lot of dudes didn't have a problem with him because he was racist. So if you didn't like white dudes, then you would probably like Sako. And there was a whole lot of dudes that did not like white dudes. They come through one day shaking down. And whenever they would shake down, they would come in with two. So it's always got to be two guards to shake your cell down. And they would just hit random cells. So as I stand in my doorway and I see them come in, you know when they're coming to shake down. They do little things that give it away. Number one is a trash bag they got in their hand. Why has he got a trash bag? Plans on putting something in there. He's not headed toward a trash can. Number two is he's putting on gloves. Anytime you see them putting on gloves, they're either about to shake a cell down or do a cell extraction. They head to the first cell, two older white dudes in there. Have them step out. Sako comes out with the bag full of stuff. He done taken extra towels, extra sheets. He's being petty. Now, if you've got somebody else's property, which is a no-no, you're not allowed to borrow things. Everything's got your name on it, engraved. Your CD player's got your name engraved, your TV. But say me and you are cool, you ain't got no music, you ain't got nothing in your cell. I got a TV, I got all this different stuff, and you want to hold my CD player overnight, I'll let you hold it if I message you like that. Sako's one of them dudes that he would see the name on you, but hey, that's my homeboy, he's right there. Call him over here. Nope, it's contraband. And he would throw it in the bag. So I'm standing here watching him as he's coming out, and it don't take long before I pick up on the common denominator of what he's doing. He shook down 4 cells now. And all 4 of the cells he shook down had a white dude in it. He has not yet skipped a cell that did not have a white dude in it. Every single cell, as he goes his way down the row, that's got a white dude in it, he shook down. Now, some of the white dudes click up with other white dudes and they'll be in a cell together. But this place is more or less, you go in a cell with whoever they tell you to. So it'd be like a black dude and a white dude. So you could argue the point, well, there was a black dude in the cell too. Okay, well, any of the cells that had 2 black dudes in it didn't get shook down. But if it was a cell with a black dude and a white dude, it got shook down. And he would ask when he came in, which one is your bunk? If you told him top bunk, that's the one he's going to flip the most. That's the one he's going to take the mat and be ripping at the mat and searching under the mat and trying to find reasons to mess with people. I told y'all I had been warned about this dude, but it's coming. It's inevitable. I know I can't stop it. He's already looked over several times. A better part of a month has passed since I've seen him shove that dude, and he's coming in my direction. There's only maybe 2 other white dudes before he gets to me. He shakes them down and gets up to my cell. Is this your cell? Yeah, it's my cell. Step out the cell, sir. So I step out. Which one is your bunk? Bottom bunk. He goes to tearing my stuff apart. Now on the wall, you got square. You got a big red square where you can hang your pictures. Only inside that square can you hang your pictures. So I've got family photos. I've got cards. I've got things that you can tell those are mine. I'm in some of those pictures. And then you got my cellmate's red square next to mine with his pictures. Well, those are all black people. So one look at the wall and you can tell, all right, a black guy stays in a cell and a white guy stays in a cell. Which bunk is yours? The bottom bunk. Tears my stuff up. Which locker is yours? The locker on the right. We had these lockers welded to the bottom of the bunk. Tears my stuff up. He never touches any of my cellmates' stuff. He's leaving out the cell, and I'm looking. Everything I own is in disarray. Everything I own has been flipped, tossed, is all over the place. And as he's walking off, I said, what did you say? I look at him. I didn't bitch up. I just look at him. Because I know anything I say is about to escalate it, and I really don't want no problems with Sako. What did you say? I ain't say nothing, man. Did you call me a No, I said that was some bitch. I didn't say I said you did some ish, is what I said. No, you called me a man, that ain't what I said to you. He comes back and he gets in my face. It's like this. I'm staring up at him. This man is way up there looking down at me. Well, do something. Show me I'm what you said I am. You called me it, show me. Yeah, that's what I thought, punk. That's what I thought. He's running his mouth. So at this point, I lose my temper. I get mad. So he starts running his mouth. Do something, punk, and puts his chest up against mine. And when he does, I back up. I tell him, you ain't going to trick me up. I ain't no stunt dummy. You ain't gonna get me locked up, have me catching charges. Look, come on, do something, do something. He kept bumping me with his chest. This is all over. You going in my cell, discriminating against me, going through my stuff, being exactly what I called you. But I shouldn't have came out of my mouth. I was still young, still dumb, still aggressive. He stands there. Now this draws the attention of everybody in the pod, chest to chest. I'm not touching this man. He's using his chest with his stab-proof vest on, bumping me with his chest. Do something, do something, do something. And he cocks back like he's like I'm supposed to flinch. When he cocks back, I step back and I square off with him. He's like, oh, okay. I'll be back for you. I'll be back for you. And he rolls out to the cell next to me where a dude named Gizmo and Ace lived there. Who lives in this cell? I start shaking their cell down. I've told y'all it always ends bad. I'm on this dude's radar. I didn't back down from him. I guess I was supposed to be like the other dudes and be like, oh, look, I'm sorry. Like I said, I was young and dumb. As he continues making his rounds, shaking down, he keeps looking down at me. By now, he's got the trash can. And he's done filled like 4 or 5 trash bags up with everything from sheets to CD players to televisions, beard trimmers. He's taking all types of stuff. They finish up, he's on the top tier, and he wheels the trash can out of there. I know y'all hate when I drive and record, but the show must go on. And I want to go home today. Just like you've got guards that discriminate, and you've got guards that snap, and you've got guards that just do the most. Well, there's way more inmates that do that than there are guards. A couple weeks have now passed. I've had no problems with Sako. I've really expected from all the horror stories I've been told and everything everybody said to me that this dude's gonna make my life a living hell. He hasn't said a word to me. But like I said, we got way more ignorant inmates than we do guards. Got a guy named Fat Pat. Can you guess why his name is Fat Pat?
Get in my belly!
Because he's fat and his name's Pat. Fat Pat was known to beef with everybody. He would go off the handle, snap all the way out, scream, yell, call you names, all the above. I don't know what set Pat off. I don't know what happened between him and Sako. Pat comes out of his cell and he's got a coffee cup and he chucks it at the control booth where Sako is. This coffee cup hits there's bars over top of this bulletproof glass, big thick glass. Boom, it hits the bars and coffee splats everywhere. Under normal circumstances, you're going to the hole. He's going to call guards in. They're going to come lock you up, put you in handcuffs, take you up out of there. He doesn't. He gets on the intercom. Now, this intercom, when you speak on it, you can either address that side, which is 200 pod, or you can address 100 pod. But there's no way to just address one person. When you speak on the intercom, everybody hears it. Sako gets on the intercom and tells him, you're a just starts calling this man the B word in front of everybody. Disrespected him. Pat snaps all the way out like he always does. Fat Pat is infamous for just going off the deep end. Dude was office rocker. I can only imagine how he was in the streets. Said he drank a lot. I'd have loved to have seen that. Pat goes up to the control booth and is screaming through the control booth. And Sako's in there laughing at him, but still got the loudspeaker on, disrespecting him, calling him names. Pat tells him, you got to come out the booth. You come out the booth. I ain't one of these little. Just making threats, telling him what he's going to do to him, giving him all the best of all the best that violence can bring when it comes to verbal assaults. Sako's still on the microphone. You're a bitch. You're not going to do nothing. You're a bitch. My cellie tells me, I told you this dude was going to be a problem. It's a problem everywhere he goes. He ends up in one pod. Then they end up writing him up till he gets moved. God knows how many different prisons this man done been to. Why we always get stuck with the flunkies? The building I was in, 7 building, was gangland. At this point in time, to be in this building, you either were gang affiliated or had just come out the hole. And the only way you could stay in the building, if you weren't that, you were kind of grandfathered in. Say you had a job and you'd been there a while, you could stay in the building that way. Well, I worked maintenance, so they weren't going to move me anywhere. We locked down for count. They come through and do count. We're waiting for our doors to pop to eat lunch. Doors don't pop. In comes Sako with a rookie. This lady ain't been there maybe at the most a week, 2 weeks. Hasn't seen much violence. Usually, like the female rookies, they'll put over in like master control or somewhere there's not a lot of men because we'll manipulate them. She's walking with Sako. Sako goes over, goes to Fat Pat's cell, tells him and his cellmate to cuff up. Pat's not going to cuff up. Tells him he's going to call a squad in there. You don't go to the hole. Just cuff up and shake your cell down, and that's it. We're going to leave you be. Tricks the man. Should have known better than to let Sako put handcuffs on him. But he handcuffs him, handcuffs his cellie, tells his cellie step out the cell, tells Fat Pat step in the cell. Fat Pat looks at him all crazy, and we're all behind the door now watching this across the way. All of us, different inmates, different convicts, are standing at our doors watching what's taking place. The older man steps out the cell and is standing there in handcuffs. What's going on? Fat Pat steps in the cell in handcuffs. Sako steps in the cell and closes the door. There's a button on the wall you can push that'll shut the door. Shut the door and you hear the beating start. Get off me. Sako is in there beating this man up. He's in there beating a man that's fully handcuffed. This would take place for about a minute, minute and a half. Our punishment for the crimes we committed is the being locked up part. You're not supposed to be punished while being punished. Because we're locked up don't mean we're not human. Us being locked up don't mean you got the right to put your hands on nobody. If we put our hands on you, it's an automatic 5 years in prison. But you've done this countless times and nothing has happened to you. This rookie is standing outside this cell, and she's got this older gentleman standing there in handcuffs, and she's looking at him, and she keeps glancing in the door, and you can see she doesn't know what to do. She's kind of just like, hey, is this normal that y'all just beat the inmates up? And then you got the other officer in the booth that's cool with what Sako does, who's just sitting there. She has the power to open all the doors. When he pushed that button, she had to override it to close it. Sako comes out the cell, uncuffs the old man, tells Pat back up to the door. Pat backs up to the door, he uncuffs him. We all come out for chow. I didn't go over there, I didn't mess with Fat Pat like that. But a bunch of different dudes went straight to Fat Pat's cell, and he's all messed up. He goes to control booth snapping. I want a grievance form. I want a grievance form. I want a grievance form. I need a CLT. I need a sergeant. I need a unit manager. I need the warden. I need everybody down here right now. You know what Sako did? You let him do it. Hey, I'm writing all y'all up. Everybody going, hey, this man, Fat Pat, is snapping at the control booth. Mind you now, there's visible marks all over his face. It is clear that he was punched by a very large man with very large fists numerous times. Punched him all in his face, beat him all up in there, right? The officer refuses to give him anything. They call chow. Fat Pat makes his way out the door, straight across the boulevard, runs up on the sergeant. Who do you think's standing there talking to the sergeant? Sako. This man beat me up. Look what he did to my face. Look what he did to my face. The sergeant tells him, turn around, put your hands behind your back. Turns around, cuffs up. They take him up out of there. We ended up finding out from Nate. Nate works over at Master Control. Good friend of mine, still locked up doing life. We ended up finding out from Nate that Sako went to the sergeant and told him that he got to fighting with an inmate. But he didn't want the inmate locked up unless the inmate made an issue out of it. That the inmate attempted to assault him and yada, 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 yada. He was trying to put the cuffs on him. He pulled his arm away, swung on him. So he had to fight with the inmate. But if the inmate doesn't make a stink about it, he's not going to press charges. Man tried to tell the sergeant what was going on. The sergeant told him to put his hands behind his back, and they would go on to press charges against Fat Pat. Sako did eventually lose his job after that incident. Anytime there's an incident like that, they take the officer and move them somewhere else. They moved him 2 buildings down to 9 building, where he did beat up another inmate in front of another officer. The rookie lied and stuck to the story. You don't go against your own. Y'all know that. Even that same law applies when it comes to being a CO or a guard. You don't go against your own. Had that rookie had told the truth on what happened, well, now all the other officers know, can't trust her. She's going to snitch on you. She's going to tell on you. So she lied and went along with the story that Sako had. She would end up losing her job because she got caught with her pants down. Y'all know what she was doing. But yeah, Sako did eventually go on to get fired. He actually beat an inmate up in front of somebody that had some power. I don't know if it was a sergeant or a lieutenant. But Fat Pat was charged with assaulting an officer. Pat getting charged for getting beat up. He never swung a punch. How do you throw a punch with your hands cuffed behind your back? How do you fight somebody when you've got handcuffs on? The whole story was made up. There's a lot of Sakos in the system. A whole lot of COs just like him. I ran across a dozen or so in Philly that just wanted to fight. Fighting you wouldn't be their first or their last fight. Some of these guards had mental health issues. Some of these guards had a lot of aggression bottled up. Being completely honest, man, a lot of them guards were cool as a fan when you first met them. But you fast forward 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 months, 3 months of them being called names, their families being called names, dudes throwing stuff on them. Some of them might get assaulted right out the gate, but you're going to get verbally, emotionally, mentally assaulted every single day as a CO. And it takes those good COs and turns them into dudes like Sako, a.k.a. Psycho. It turns them into bad guards. We make things harder for ourselves a lot of times. You don't know what the next man might have said to the guard or what he might have dealt with in another building or in general on the other side of the compound that made him the way he is. But he is the way he is, and you're going to deal with it now. The less you deal with them, the better. Try to limit the speaking to them, asking them for things, and definitely try to limit the disrespect. Sako was a big man. Big, massive hands. I heard the punches. Everybody heard the punches, heard the grunts, heard the blows he landed on Pat. Really glad it wasn't me that go round. It has been in the past. I've been hit while handcuffed. It sucked. It sucked a lot. Getting punched in general isn't pleasant, but with your hands behind your back and you're still recovering from the last one and you feel the next one just boom, it sucks a lot. Just to stand there and have somebody pummel you. And what do? You just bite down. And just take it. After you've been punched like that, you've been beat like that, normal fights don't seem that scary. Just like, I can block? Like, you mean to tell me I can defend myself? I can swing back? I can get out the way to punch and actually, yeah, it doesn't seem that scary after you've been beat up with handcuffs on. Now, I don't want to paint a picture that all correctional officers are bad or that they're just in every institute across America beating people up, because they're not. There's always going to be a bad apple. I don't care how many apples there is. There's always going to be one in the bunch. And I can think of one at every institution I've ever been at. Every institution. I'm going to do another one of these on a dude named Hawk. And anybody's been locked up in Richmond City Jail, the old Richmond City Jail, y'all know who Hawk is. Hawk was another one of those that I think his co-workers feared him too. He had been around the jail longer than most of the other employees and didn't hide what he did. And he liked to fight. And he liked to fight the guys that could fight. Like if you made a name for yourself and you were Mr. Tough Guy and he was constantly hearing about you fighting with this person, or you and your buddies jumped on this person, or he's going to come for you. He was going to try you. It's all fun and games until you become somebody's punching bag. And it might not be another inmates. You might run across a Sako, a Hawk, one of these deranged correctional officers that just decide that today's the day that they're tired of being disrespected, tired of their wife cheating on them, tired of their kids calling them stupid, tired of paying the mortgage. They're tired of life in general, and you've talked one too many times, and they're tired of your mouth. When it's all said and done, you know what usually happens? Nothing. The most that really happens is they usually get fired. But no criminal charges are usually brought up. Have there been? Yes. Are they usually? No. They just usually just let the officer go, and there you walk around with a big old swollen black eye. I'm here at the old house, grabbing some more clothes, going to throw them in this truck, and I'm going to, boom, shoot over to the new house and put some beds together and relax. But anyways, these jails, these institutions, these prisons, these disgruntled guards, they're all just crazy worlds inside of a already crazy world we live in. And as always, y'all know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to keep y'all entertained. Are you not entertained? And like always, this is Jay Williams. Let's live life. It's all my real ones. And there are some real ones watching. Because y'all still watching me. And y'all know how we do. Salute. Sako, you're a piece of...